What if an investment you believed in for years, one you trusted with your savings, was never real at all? What if the photos, the brochures, the confident promises of profit were nothing more than a carefully constructed illusion? Today's story is about Barry Bremen, a New York-based real estate developer who admitted in federal court that he orchestrated a multi-year investment fraud scheme, stealing more than $13 million from investors who thought they were funding real estate projects in Latin America. This is the full story of how the scheme worked, how it stayed hidden for years, and how it ultimately collapsed. For much of his career, Barry Bremen worked in real estate development and cultivated the image of an experienced professional. According to prosecutors, he positioned himself as someone with specialized knowledge of international real estate markets, particularly in Latin America, where many investors have limited visibility and rely heavily on trust. Bremen spoke the language of opportunity. He described luxury developments, strategic land acquisitions, and long-term projects with strong growth potential. To reinforce his claims, he provided potential investors with polished promotional materials, including photographs of properties, detailed prospectuses, and financial projections that appeared carefully researched and professionally prepared. Investors were told they could purchase limited partnership interests in these developments. In return, Bremen promised consistent returns and quarterly distributions. Everything about the pitch looked legitimate, and that was exactly the point. According to federal authorities, the scheme began in or around 2018, after Bremen experienced a professional setback in his legitimate real estate business. Faced with financial pressure, prosecutors say he made a deliberate decision to solicit money through deception rather than lawful business activity. From that point forward, Bremen began offering investment opportunities that were entirely fabricated. He claimed involvement in multiple Latin American real estate projects that, in many cases, he had no connection to at all. In some instances, prosecutors say he had no legal authority to sell investment interests, and in others, the projects simply did not exist in any meaningful way. Still, Bremen continued to pitch them as high-value opportunities, and investors continued to believe him. Over the next several years, from 2018 through 2024, Bremen steadily expanded the scheme. He solicited funds from approximately 30 investors, often relying on personal relationships, referrals, and the credibility he had built over decades in real estate. Once the money was sent, investors expected it to be used for land purchases, development costs, and operational expenses tied to the projects they had been promised. But that's not where the money went. According to prosecutors, Bremen misappropriated investor funds, diverting them for his own personal use. Rather than financing real estate developments, the money was allegedly used to cover personal expenses and maintain his lifestyle. No properties were developed, no projects were completed, and no legitimate returns were ever generated. By the time the scheme ended, Bremen had obtained more than $13 million. For many victims, the fraud unfolded slowly. Real estate projects, especially international ones, often involve delays, regulatory hurdles, and long timelines. Prosecutors say Bremen used this reality to his advantage, offering explanations for missed payments or postponed distributions that sounded plausible to investors unfamiliar with the region. As months turned into years, some investors grew suspicious. Others continued to wait, believing their money was tied up in complex but legitimate developments. Behind the scenes, however, federal investigators were beginning to connect the dots. In May 2025, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York announced a major development in the case. Barry Bremen had been formally charged and had pleaded guilty in Manhattan federal court. The announcement was made by Jay Clayton, who stated that Bremen knowingly lied to investors, fabricated investment opportunities, and stole millions of dollars over the course of several years. Clayton emphasized that Bremen falsely represented that investor money was being used for real estate development, when in reality it was being diverted for personal use. The investigation was conducted with the assistance of the United States Postal Inspection Service, which played a key role in tracing the flow of funds and uncovering the false representations at the heart of the scheme. Authorities followed bank records, reviewed communications, and analyzed the promotional materials Bremen had used to solicit investments. Over time, the evidence revealed a consistent pattern of deception. Faced with the evidence